Hi everyone, Ken from Miniature Wargaming Warriors, and today I'm going to be doing a guide on how to collect the French for black powder. So what you're seeing here is my entire French collection that I have painted so far. So I've got 15 infantry battalions, I have 3 troops of cavalry, I should have 4 cannons now, and I've also got an officer that leads them. That is one thing that I am lacking is commanders, so for each battalion you should have a commander, and I need to get a few more of those painted. Luckily I've been able to borrow either Doms or Martins when I've played them, but I'm going to take you through how I've done it, structure of it, and what you can do to achieve this as well. It took me about 6 months to do. So before we go any further, I just want to point out what you're going to see in this video is me using 3 main manufacturers. They are going to be Warlord Games, they are going to be Perry Miniatures, and they are going to be Victrix. The only reason that I'm using these is because they are all plastic. I do like metal miniatures. I don't have whole battalions in metal. I know some people absolutely swear by metal. I haven't got a problem with them. I just prefer using the plastics to be able to do multi-poses and bits and bobs like that. It's just easier for me. So if I haven't mentioned your manufacturer of choice, I'm sorry, but I'm just sticking with these plastics. Alright, so let's crack on. Okay, technically, in front of you, you have 5 brigades. I play it as 4 brigades, and I shall explain what that is later on in the video. But main parts of our army are going to be the infantry, so this is going to be the backbone of our army. That's going to be regular infantry, light infantry, skirmishers. You've also got foreign units in there, so like the Italians, the Irish, the Swiss, anyone basically that wore the French style pattern uniform throughout and was integrated into the French, what I would say the main French army, comes under that as well. So yes, you had like the Allies, so like the German states as well, but I'm just going to be focusing on the guys that were carrying the eagle, and I'll class them as French. So you've got the Italians, you've got the Swiss, and you've also got a unit of Irish in there as well. So I'll go over that as well. And we've got the cavalry would be second. So you've got light and heavy cavalry units. I have erred on the side of light cavalry for this setup. You can also go with heavy cavalry. I have got some heavy cavalry, but I haven't painted any up, so I'm not gonna show you those guys. Light cavalry wise, I used lancers, and you've also got chasseurs cheval, and yep, they're predominantly my light cavalry units. So then we're talking about cannons. So you've got batteries of cannons, so you can have 1 or 2 cannons to a battery, depending if you want to do a half battery or a full battery. Each to their own, but I use 2 cannons for a full battery, 1 for a half. Some people like to just use 1 and represent it either way. Depends on how many you want to paint up and how much room on the table you actually want to use. Then we've got our commanders. So we've got our brigade commanders and our overall army commander. These guys are like, I do them on nice big bases to give them like a diorama sort of feel. And yeah, so that's the main core of our army. So the first thing I'm going to suggest you do is pick up a starter box that Warlord Games do for Waterloo, and it should be on the screen now. Okay, there's a good reason why we're going to pick this up first. We're going to go through now an army organisator. So we're going to organise what we're going to buy for now, and then what we're going to want to get in the future. So for my French army, like I said, I've done 5 brigades. Okay, so let's organise that now, what we're going to do, where we're going to put them, and who's going to be in command of those brigades. So this is my army organizer. All I've done is I've done a little bit of PowerPoint, used a table, and I've planned out what I'm going to do. So as you can see, I've got my commander, who's the first that I'm going to be doing. So choose a commander basically. Me, it's going to be Napoleon. It could be Ney, it could be any of the French characters that you want. If you want to go down the historical accurate route, you can get orders of battle, which are available. They're very, very handy if you want to follow that historical sense. But for me, I'm not too bothered. I always go with, believe it or not, my flags. So flags and bits and bobs I will come to later, but it helps me decide what units I'm going to have on the table at the time. But carrying on with this, I do 6 brigade commanders, because if I've got 6 brigades, so I've got brigade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I've got like a support brigade and elite unit. There's a reason I haven't done one for the support brigade, and I'll explain that in a minute. So brigade 1, we're going to start with French infantry 1st battalion. So anything you see bat means battalion, just shorten it. Reg is regiment, and yeah, so on and so forth. So 1st battalion, that will mean that that brigade is going to have a unit of line infantry, and they're going to hold an eagle, and they're going to be the 1st battalion, because French, only the 1st battalion would have the eagle. The second unit in that is going to be another French line battalion, which is going to be the 1st battalion, again with an eagle. Then I'm going to put a line infantry again, but this time I'm going to use the 3rd battalion. So with French, 3rd battalions are normally a red flag. They don't carry an eagle, so I'm going to do those just to add a bit of variety. And then I'm going to do a battalion of light infantry. Okay, so these have got 2 things. They do have a specific extra rule. They get a bit of extra bonus when they're fighting in close combat. So they're pretty cool, and also they will carry an eagle as well, which is really nice because the light infantry got like blue trousers compared to like the other guys. Their uniforms are blue, depending on what period and what you're going to do. But I do it for a bit of variety. So they'll have their brigade commander. I normally do him on horseback, and I'll do him on a special base. So Brigade 2, again, I've got a line infantry battalion, but it's 2nd battalion this time, so they're going to be white flag. And then I'm going to do one with 1st, it's going to be line infantry again, and then another line infantry 2nd battalion. And then I'm going to add in something a bit different now, which is going to be line infantry, and I'm going to do the Irish, so the 1st regiment of the Irish. And those guys are all green, so it stands out, looks a bit different to everything else on the table, but they do carry an eagle as well, which is really cool, which you should hopefully be seeing them anyway on the screen. Then I'm going to add in some French skirmishers into that brigade as well. Okay, so Brigade 3, I'm going to go with a 1st battalion line, then a 2nd battalion line, and then another 2nd battalion line, and then I'm going to do a light infantry 1st battalion again. Alright, so 4th, now this is my foreign contingent. So for me, I went with Italians, but you can always go with Swiss as well. Both are really cool. I went with Italians because they're white, and I've got a thing, I'm sadist for painting white, and I've got a video, which I should hopefully be linking about now, for how to paint like white uniforms, and Italians, I've got a video on that, so that's how I do them. And I'm going to go with 1st battalion line, and then 1st again, line, and then another 1st again line, and then 2nd battalion, and then I'm going to do Italian skirmishers as well, a little unit of those. 5th brigade, again, this is now like your cavalry brigade. It's a weird one. You can play these as individuals, so you can play this as one brigade if you want 3 troops of cavalry. Okay, so they're called troops. You can put them in one brigade, or what you can do if you're having smaller games, you could take out, for example, this is for me. This is what I do: is I take out one of my French line battalions, and I might put in a unit of cavalry. Don't think it says in the rules specifically about doing this. It's more like a homeschool rule that I play with Martin, and I also play with Dom. I'm sure your opponent would be quite keen, because I hate painting cavalry. So does Martin. Hashtag I blame Martin. He hates painting cavalry, Napoleonic cavalry that is. Some people love it, some people don't. But what I've done with my structure is I've done a brigade commander, so again he'll be on horseback. Then I will have lancers as one choice. Then I'll have some chasseurs cheval, and then chasseurs cheval again. And that will make up my brigade for cavalry. And the reason I've only done 3 units is because that's like the minimum really you can really do. And then I've done like a support brigade, which won't have a commander per se. These cannon, if you want to use cannon, will go in with each of the brigades. So I'll put a cannon on each of these. So if I want to use a cannon, I might stick it in with the 1st brigade, or the 3rd brigade, or the 5th, or I might do it in multiples. You can do it so you've got like a grand battery of cannon with the French, which is really cool. And then I would add a brigade commander in, because they're completely separate. Okay, and then Brigade 6 is going to be like quite controversial, the elite units one. Okay, so this one is what I do. Okay, this is not what you would do in normal black powder. And the reason is the old guard are their completely own army list in black powder. So you would do like French and old guard are completely separate. Alright, so this is like later on down the line if you wanted to do this. But what I do is I mix them in with my normal French army. Martin does the same. Just ask your opponent, see if they're happy for it, because obviously they got special rules and bits and bobs like that. I might nerf them down a little bit, or make them keep them the same depending on what my opponent says. They're happy for me to use them. So for this one, just because it's cool and it's the paint, I've done a unit of middle guard. I've also done a unit of 1st Regiment Old Guard and the 2nd Regiment Old Guard, so they all carry the flags. And then I've got a Marines of the Guard unit, the only unit in this in my list here that is full metal, because you can't get them in plastic. And we'll come on to that in a bit anyway. So that is my organizer, so like my army organizer and how I would organize things. Obviously you don't have to do it this big. You know, you can play Black Powder quite easily with just 1 brigade. It's not a problem. 2 brigades is quite nice. 3 brigades is the sweet spot. If you want a big game, you know, 5 brigades and all that sort of jazz. Hopefully we'll be doing that at GratCon. That'll be quite fun. But yeah, that's how it's structured and how it makes up. Again, this is my own rule set that I do homebrew, which I think plays quite nicely, because obviously it's all based on points, and that's it. You just organise it either way to do with points, or for example what we do with our homebrews is I'll have a French line battalion, Martin will have a British line battalion. We'll match, you know. I'll have a French light, Martin might have a unit of skirmishers, or I'll have a troop of the old guard, Martin might use the Grenadier Guards, for example, and we do it like that. We don't overkill it, because remember, not all battles were equal, and that's how we use this to represent that the battles weren't equal and both sides weren't the same. So yes, this is the French organizer. So easy to do, guys. I recommend you do this before you start. Okay, then now you can probably see why I want you to pick up the army starter from Warlord Games. It's one of those that we're going to be able to do Italians, we're going to be able to do French out of it. You can do Swiss as well, or Irish, whatever you want. Whatever wore the French uniform and had great coats, there you go. You can do it with these, and they're so fast to paint. You'll see a video now in the bottom corner, just like a little preview of one of my painting guides. Link will be in the top corner somewhere. Yeah, if you seriously, this is like a no-brainer from Warlord. They come with command. The cavalry as well, and their first unit of cavalry, that comes with command as well. It's a unit of lancers. You've got a cannon in there, and you've got an officer. I tend to, for my officers, I'll either base them on like a pill shape, or I might make a little diorama base out of them as well, and I'll show you where I get those bases from. The big ones are from Renedra. They're plastic because of the warping, but the little pill ones are from Warbases. Right, so now we've got like a brigade's worth of troops. I'm going to split these out. So one's going to go for the 1st brigade, 2 are going to go for the 2nd, and one's going to go for the 3rd. So we're going to do it over 3 brigades for this, because I think having 5 brigades is going to be a bit too much, and then I'll do the add-on units after. So that's going to be your Warlord one. Basically, I'd recommend, it's a really hard one, because I'd probably recommend that you just straight out the back get 2 boxes of this and do the majority in greatcoat. Some people would be like, no, don't do that. But if you want it done quick, that's how I would do it personally. So I'd get 8 battalions worth of line infantry for that. And then I would end up making the rest up with Perry boxes. So I'd head over to the Perrys now. And what we're going to do there is we're going to pick up a couple of boxes from them. So we're going to get their 1815 box, their French unit infantry box. And they do like their newer models, 1812 to 1814, I believe they are. So they might not be the perfectly acceptable uniform for 1815, but they're good enough for me. And I would just get like the standard battalion box for that. They do an elite companies box as well. Basically, it's the other way around. So in the standard box, you get so many of the standard sprues, and then you get a couple of elite company sprues. In the elite companies box, you basically get more elite companies and a few of the standard ones. It should be enough in the elite companies box and the other box to make up a small unit of skirmishers, if you'd like. I would use obviously the elite company sprues that come in the Perry's box to make up your skirmishers. So they've got like a running pose and a firing pose as well, which is really nice for some skirmishers. So you also got the option to use another company which I haven't mentioned yet, is Victrix. They do some plastic sets. You do get a lot of figures in a box, so it's 60 in a box for this. So you wouldn't need to buy as many. I haven't gone with these this time, just for my normal infantry, just because they were a little bit fiddly, the British ones that I got to put together. But we will be coming back to Victrix very shortly. Right, before we move on from this, the infantry that is, What you will do is if you do buy 2 Warlord sets, you will end up with 48 men left over. So you've got enough for 2 battalions extra troops because they come in 36s. So what you want to do with that, you've got a couple of options. You can either buy some metals from the Perrys or Warlord, or you can, if you want to see completely plastic, you can buy the Perry plastic commands from the Perry website directly. Okay, these are what the sprues look like. There's 2 different types. I'm not sure if you can still buy both separate types. There's the new one, obviously, for the new plastic French, and then you've got the older one from the old plastic French set, the 1815 one. The newer one has the eagle bearers with it, so the guys with the halberds, which I think is quite cool, and it looks quite smart. I quite like it. You got your drummers on there. You also get a few extra troops as well. You can use them in the skirmish order if you want to, or you can hang on to those as casualties or spares, or however you want to do it. Or, like I said, you can buy the metal ones, which are on the Perry website or the Warlord website. It's completely up to you. So in total there, if you bought the 2 boxes, you're going to end up with 10 battalions worth of troops. Then I would just fill out with the extra infantry boxes from the Perrys. If you want to go the Victrix route, by all means, go the Victrix route. But I prefer to go the Perry route. You'll end up with, depending on how you do it, about 80 models. So you've got enough to do maybe 4 battalions. So you're up to, if you really want to, 3, 4, be up to 14 battalions in total there of just infantry. Remember as well, major thing here is you don't have to go direct to these manufacturers. You can always buy them from third-party retailers, and people, it's sometimes quite hard to find the Perrys at a discount. But if you ever watch the Plastic Crack podcast, our friend Jim Reaper, the evil Jim Reaper, from ReaperGames.co.uk, he sells them at 20% off. Plus, at the moment, if you watch the Plastic Crack podcast, the latest episode, there is a discount code in there, depending on obviously when you're watching. If you've just joined us from, say, a year down the line, the code might not work anymore, but get over to the Plastic Crack podcast. There'll be a link to it in the description. Watch the podcast, come and join us, and find the code. Go on his website, and that will net you an extra 10% off for Perry, so that's 30% off. If you can't see anything on his website, don't panic, send him a message. If it's in plastic and it's Perry, Warlord, he does other bits and bobs as well, he can get it for you. Just send him a direct message and he'll PayPal invoice you. Okay? Wicked. I thought I'd give him a shout out because he's a good guy. Okay, so we're heading over for Cavalry now. The first place we're going to stop is Victrix. So we're going to pick up a packet of their Polish Lancers. You could do the Dutch Lance with them as well, but we're going to go with Polish. The poses are absolutely awesome. The dynamic, the way they're holding the spears and the charge, I think they, looking wise, they're absolutely beautiful. And you can't beat them when it's in the charge sort of mode. You could, going to put it out there, you could go to AvanPost. This Lancer I've got here, he is painted up from AvanPost. They're resin. They're a little bit more expensive. It's one of those, isn't it? Depends if you want to go with, say, the plastic, the cheap option. You want to go metal, you want to go resin. But as we're sticking with the plastics, I'm going to recommend the Victrix. So those for the Lancers, and then for the Chasseur Cheval, I'm going to say go to Perry's and pick up 2 boxes of those and make 3 units of 12.
Okay, so the cavalry section wasn't as long as the infantry section, only being that cavalry for this collection are quite straightforward. There's only a few manufacturers, and you won't have as many of the cavalry units on the table at one time as you will the infantry. So I always like to do a little bit of variety with the infantry compared to the cavalry. But remember, if you're going to paint horses, contrast paints are a great way to actually get horses done quite quickly, because I know some people really don't enjoy painting horses. Towards the end of the video, I'm going to give you like reference material where you can go to get painting guides, where I find out my information and bits and bobs like that. So make sure you stay tuned and stay subscribed if you're not, and like the video just so this can get out to other people, other wargamers and stuff. It's just, I've done this video basically to help everybody out that's looking to start French, because when I started, it just felt like a massive nightmare at the time. It just was. So yeah, I hope people are finding this interesting, and stay with it. We're moving on to like the artillery now, and then we're going to look at like the old guard and the special units as well. Right. So, okay, with the artillery, you've got a few options of this. Plastic is one option, and you've got metal, of course. The cheapest way probably to do it, and the most interesting way I find, is probably the Victrix kits. I've got some of their cannons that you can see now. What I've done though with these, because they come with two, they come with like your normal cannon and then your howitzer as well. And what you can do is you can magnetize it. So I've magnetized these cannons, so I can just swap the barrels over. So you get two options. So if you want to use for either or, it doesn't really matter in black powder per se, unless you've got a whole battery of them. But you get three in the set, and I think they're pretty good value. You obviously get the cannons, and then you get the actual guys. You don't get the limbers with it, with the French ones, but you can purchase them separately from other providers. Alternatively, this is like the only point I'm going to say you're going to have to go metal. If you're not going to go with the plastics, you're going to have to go to the Perrys, or you're going to go to the Warlord. Scale wise, they all are a little bit different. So the Victrix are probably the smallest out of them all. Then you've got the Perrys, and then you've got the Warlord cannons. So the Warlord cannons are quite big. I find they're a little bit overscale. They're more that heroic scale, which you don't really notice in all fairness when you've got them on the table. Then you've got the Perrys, which I think are just in the sweet spot, right in the middle. They do some different sets of cannons, so they do like rolling forward, firing, all that sort of jazz, and they do them for like all the different ranges. So they do them for the old guard as well as just their normal French line. Then you've got the Victrix ones. Again, a little bit smaller. I don't really have a problem with it. I don't notice it. I think they're quite neat. It's probably the best way to put it. But again, you can just kit bash, so it's not a drama. If you want to use the Victrix cannons and you want to just put some old guard heads on them or bits and bobs like that, you just kit bash them out because they're plastic, which is really cool. You can put the old guard heads on from the Victrix set, the other Victrix set. So yeah, there you go. Cannons again, straightforward. I base them on bases from Warbases. I'll put a picture up for these. They're an odd shaped base, which I quite like, and I just put them on this because they're quite. It's nice not to have them on the square. It's nice not to have them on around. Something a bit irregular, I think, works quite well. Lets you do more like of a dire army sort of base. And yeah, so we're gonna go with if we're going to do the 4 cannons, depending on what you want to do, if you want to do half batteries as 1 and a full battery as 2, yeah, you can do that. So personally, I'll probably pick up 2 sets, get 6 cannons, start off with 3 batteries, and then eventually you could always move on to doing a 4th or buy 3 sets, and then use 1 cannon as like a casualty marker or something like that, make a bit of terrain out of it as for the spare. But yeah, the Victrix ones, that's the ones I would probably go with just for the kit bashing potential. Right, okay, now we have spoken about infantry, we have spoken about cavalry, we have spoken about cannons. Now let's speak about the elephant in the room, the old guard.
Soldiers of my old guard, after 20 years, I have come to say goodbye.
My favourite part of this video, even though they shouldn't probably be in this army list, they're going in there anyway because they are so cool. Right, so Old Guard. The only place that I'm going to go and recommend to go for the Old Guard is Victrix. Very simply because they do them in plastics. They're nice sculpts. They're nice models. You get 60 in a pack. Okay, so it's ludicrously good. And what I would do is I would buy 1 pack of the Old Guard. Just the Old Guard kit on its own, okay? And then I would buy a pack of the Middle Guard, right? And I'll explain why. Okay, so in the Old Guard set, you get the Old Guard sprue, which has got the Grenadier heads in. Absolutely fine. With the Middle Guard set, you get I think it's the 2 sprues, but one is or 4 sprues, whatever it is. One is the Old Guard set heads, or 2 of the Old Guard heads, 2 of the light, like chasseurs heads. So they're different sprues slightly. So they've got like a different command on them, which is really, really handy. But they also come with the middle guard heads, which are they're Shakos. So you're going to want the Shakos for 1 unit of your old guard. You're going to want the grenadier heads if you're going to do grenadiers, but it also gives you the option to do like chasseurs. So you could do the chasseurs for the old guard as well. So you could have 1 unit grenadiers, 1 unit middle guard, 1 unit chasseurs, and you've still got models left over, which is absolutely crazy because remember, again, we're only doing 24-man units. So if you just want the 3 sets, so you could go, so what's that, 60, so it's 120. You've got enough, I would probably say, what's that for? You just got enough for possibly under 5 battalions worth. So you're going to end up with spares, which at the end of the day, it's not a problem because you can use those for future projects. Ideas for using them at future places. What I've done is you've got the commands on every stand you get a command set. So you're going to have more commands than what you need, which is really cool. So you could always mix them in with other units. Maybe the uniforms aren't 100% accurate, but remember, I am not a button counter, and if you don't know what a button counter is, I'm really sorry, but it's someone that's absolutely overly obsessed with the uniform. That's not me, and that's not how I war game. Fine if you want to do that, it's cool, not a drama. That's what you really like doing. You wouldn't be probably watching this video this far into it anyway. But like I say, kit bashing potential's there. You can do head swaps, but we're going to go like 1st Regiment of the Old Guard, 2nd Regiment, and with the middle guard as well. We're going to do those as well. Then you've got the option of doing, say, like something that's a bit earlier. So you've got like the Dutch Grenadiers. So they're all white. So you could paint them in white, which is really nice. That adds another variety. But yeah, Old Guard, absolutely love them. Love the rules. I think they're absolutely cool. You could do like we had the spare cannon from earlier. What you could do is you could put some Old Guard heads on. The uniforms aren't going to be correct per se. They're not going to be perfectly correct for the Old Guard. You could do that to do a bit of kit bash and say, right, this cannon is the Old Guard. Okay, this is, so then you've given cannon support for your Old Guard. So it all links in, and that's the whole point of this guide. Is it's adaptation. It's kit bashing. It's you know, we mix sets in. So like when I say do like a Perry, do a Warlord battalion, you know, there's nothing stopping you mixing the guys in. So you could, you know, just for variety, you could stick some Perrys in a Warlord battalion. You could do some Warlords in a Perry battalion. You know, you could put a Perry command in a Warlord battalion, a Warlord command in the Perry battalion. You know, just mixing it up. It's making your units look unique, which is really cool. And that's what I'm all about, is I'm all about uniqueness. So like with my Old Guard, you can see I've got a firing line on the front one, and the other guys are reloading at the back or in march pose. Another battalion I might just do in march pose, because that's how good and variety these kits are. Middle Guard, again, absolutely awesome. Same basic principle. So you got the Old Guard great coats, and you just stick the Middle Guard heads on them. The only downside for the Middle Guard that I found is the flag that I needed didn't come with the actual Middle Guard box. So what I had to do is I had to go to third party retailer, which we're going to come on in the next section, which is GMB flags, and yeah, we go through flags and that there. But I would personally, the Victrix Old Guard come with flags, so I would use those flags that come with it, just because I'm not going to buy extra flags just for two units that I'm possibly, you know, I'm going to field. And I think the flags are good enough. I really do. I think they're good enough that you haven't got to go out and buy some extras just to dull them down a little bit. What I'd probably end up doing is I put some some like Agrax Earthshade, or just some sort of really thin down wash, just to give it a bit of a rugged look, and a bit of a dry brush with deck tan, and that's how I do it. Okay. Next step, it's gonna be flags. Okay, so flags is going to be really interesting. You get flags with the Warlord sets. So in the army box, if you're really trying to save some money, use the flags. It's not a problem. But what I would suggest you do is I would suggest you head over to this website here, GMB, and have a look at their French Napoleonic range. Don't panic because you can't see the actual flags per se. What I tend to do is, like I was saying at the start of the video, if you want to follow an order of battle, by all means pick out the flags that you wanna follow, so the ones that you're going to need. But what I've done, what Martin Seventh Son's done, is I go on there, I pick 2 flags, or I just pick a flag set that sounds cool, like about the infantry regiment or something like that, and they come in sets of 2. So with, for example, the middle guard one, it comes with the middle guard one, and it's either the Dutch Grenadiers or Marines of the Guard. Okay, so really handy in that retrospect because I've got both of those units. Sometimes you might get, say, the 1st Battalion, the 5th, and then the 1st Light Regiment. So I've got 2 there, and I'll just go through it like that, and I just pick out the ones that I want. He hasn't got pictures up of everything, like I said, but you can see like what they're going to look like. So a French flag in 1815 is a French flag in 1815. They just changed the number of the regiment, and it just changes the battle honours on the flag. So where they fought. That's the only real difference. So you've got the Irish on there as well. So the Irish come with the because I've done the Irish, they come with the 1st, 2nd battalion, 2nd regiment, 1st and 2nd regiment, I think it is, or you can do different regiments, or they might come with the 1st regiment, 1st battalion, and the 2nd battalion for there as well. So you've got the option again of doing 2 Irish regiments, which I'm probably going to end up doing. I've done 1, so I'm going to probably do 2, and yeah, it's one of those. It's just, I prefer these flags. The quality of them, yes, they are a bit more expensive, but if I'm investing some, my time and my money, I want them to look the best. And GMB, in my opinion, is the best when it comes to flags. You got flags of war and bits and bobs like that, but personal bias, I like GMB. Sorry. It's just one of those. So yeah, guys, there's loads of places where you can get flags, but GMB is definitely the one where it's at for me. Right, so that was the old guard and the flags. So what we've covered, everything. So we've covered infantry, we've covered cavalry, we've covered artillery, we have covered the old guard, and now we've covered the flags. So that's everything you're going to need to get started on this Napoleonic journey for collecting the French army. Like I say, plan it out like I did at the start. Don't need to copy me. You can do your individual stuff. If you just want to work it a brigade at a time, do that. But I'm just giving you all the options that you can get in plastic, and a few in the options in metal as well. I just prefer the plastics just for kitbashing potential. So reference material, as you can now see in front of you on the screen, I've used 2. I can never pronounce it, but there's like a French website that you need to translate into English if you speak English, but if you speak French, it's perfect. It gives you reference material for all the French uniforms, so the people that were at Waterloo. So any units that you're doing that are at Waterloo, they'll be there. If your unit that you're doing isn't at Waterloo, again, you're going to have to do some individual research just by typing it on Google. But you've also got like Facebook groups like the Napoleonic Wargamer, really helpful, the guys on there. They can give you references and bits and bobs like that, especially with flags as well. And then for the Italians that I've mentioned, I've put a website up for the Italians there as well. Again, it's good for the uniforms. There's a little bit of information on there as well, quite useful. But again, you've got the Perrys, give you the booklet that you get when you buy their French set. You've got Italian different style uniforms to paint in there, so it's all very helpful. Okay, so don't forget as well, you've got other YouTubers out there, so like Martin Seventh Son, you've got Boots on the Table with Dom. Both do, well, Martin does French. He's done some great old guard painting videos. Dom does French, not French, so he does like the German states. He's also done British as well. Both, again, unique, really good channels. You have got Steve from 1 Point HQ, my other colleague from the Plastic Crack podcast, who nearly painted a battalion of French, but he's more his World War II base. But you've also got the Napoleonic Wargamer. He is really good. I like watching his videos quite a lot. Get a lot of reference material and things as well. What he does for his British and his French is really nice as well. But guys, it's been great having you along. It's been really nice doing a video that's just taken quite a lot out of me, to be honest. A lot of research into it, a lot of editing, and I've really enjoyed it. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing. And if I haven't mentioned your stuff in it, like what you like to use, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Really helps. Give us a like and a thumbs up. So guys, just want to say thanks very much. See you again very soon, and bye bye for now.
Soldiers, of my old guard, after 20 years, I have come to say goodbye!